Hello again, this is John Piper with the first proper video of The Way to Trade Better. I'm doing a series of videos of this book. I did an introductory video previously, and this is the first proper one, as I said. A few points I want to make before I actually start to read from the book and explain in more detail what I actually meant by what I wrote, although hopefully it's fairly clear. Writing a book is something that seems quite daunting, but if you actually break it down, you can quite easily write a book in about a month. All you need to do is write 100 pages, that's about 40,000 words. You can do 400 words in 5 minutes, if you know your subject, of course. So all you need is 100 5-minute segments, and you've got a book. 100 5-minute segments is 500 minutes, which is less than 10 hours. So a month is really quite simple to write a book. In this case, the book probably took 2 months to write, and I think well over a year to go through the editing process with my publisher Stephen Eckert. The most annoying aspect of this particular process is that Stephen's always right in what he says about the book, and he has in fact enhanced it immensely. One of the key aspects of writing a book actually is having a message. If you've got a message, then it's quite simple to write the book. If you're not sure what you're talking about or why you're writing, then I think it becomes immensely difficult. I mean, trying to force a book is very difficult. I did try and write a novel once, and I found that quite difficult. In fact, I never finished it, mainly because I didn't plan it properly, but planning books is quite an important part of the process if you want to finish the book, I've discovered from that. But the message I had was, having worked with so many traders, it was quite clear that the size was the key issue. And if you want to run a successful business, then you've got to trade in a certain size. And there are no two ways around that. As I said before, if you wish to remain as legal trading as a hobby, then that's a completely different issue altogether. Now, the second aspect is how do you get up to size? Well, one way is to trade with very tight stops. So at the moment I'm developing a new trading system using 10-point stops, and I'm finding there are often quite a few moments in the market where that can be applied quite successfully. You do need to have a clear trend. Without a clear trend, there's not much, it becomes far more difficult. But when the trend is clear, that system works extremely well. I'm also working on an automated trading system which would trade very, very fast, looking for sideways action, which is something I'll be telling you about in due course, I hope. But now I'm going to start with the introduction to the book. And without any more, the book again, just to remind you, it looks like, and the introduction is on page 1, which is fairly appropriate. There's a foreword by Tony Plummer, and I think I might ask him whether he'd like to do a video of the foreword, which is excellent. Failing that, I might do one myself if he's happy I'd do that. Right, the introduction. Let me tell you a story. Once upon a time, there was a trader, and in 1985, he put on his first trade, and it lost money. The same thing happened with the next trade, and on the third occasion, the market moved as he expected, but as he was new to this, he grabbed the small profit he had and squandered the big profit that was just around the corner. After these 3 trades between 1985 and 1986, his trading frequency was very low at this time. He was lying in a hot bath after a hard day's skiing in Andorra and pondered a new trading approach a friend had suggested to him. He was sure it would be a winner. In April 1987, he started to trade the new approach, and after some fairly frantic trading, he was up £500 after a couple of weeks. Not bad back then. He had just quit a very high-paying job and had a manor house and a 911 Turbo to support, not to mention his wife and daughter. He thought he'd found the solution. He went at it with gusto and promptly lost £4,000 the next month. The next few months were generally positive. He also sold the manor house, so his coffers were overflowing with cash. In July 1987, the market peaked, and the analysis technique he used called for the fall to continue. He built up a large short position in the market. £500 per point, in fact. But in the middle of 1987, he reduced the position by 60% based on a short-term pattern, and thus failed to capitalize on the very large move that followed. On the morning of Monday, the 18th of October, 1987, he sold all remaining positions for a £20,000 profit, very far from shabby back then. But at the same time, he continued to operate his system as the 87 crash continued, and he became very exposed to the downside. Only by very good fortune did he avoid being wiped out during the next few months as the market went broadly sideways. This allowed him to get out of break even. The family moved to the fishing village of Lorici in Italy, and he continued to trade the system, racking up a £20,000 gain in 1 month, and life was good. In 1989, during a trip to Israel, the market experienced another big move, and this time he was not so lucky. He was wiped out. The trader was, of course, me, and this book is partly about how not to do what I did then. More importantly, it's about how to make your trading the true source of success and financial freedom it can be. When I wrote The Way to Trade back in the 1990s, I subtitled it, Discover Your Successful Trading Personality. But it's now clear that for many of us, discovering it is one thing, making it into a successful business is something entirely different. This new book is all about making your trading into a successful business, and I've created a 5-step process for this. Getting your focus right. Your focus determines your trading arena. Getting your style right. Finding your way to make money in the areas of the market. Getting the trading right. Maximizing the points on your trades. Increasing size. Making the money. This is where it starts to pay. Making all this a winning habit. This is when it pays year after year after year. Say a few words about that section so far. When I was trading options, the issue with writing options, when you sell an option, is you receive a fixed premium, but you're exposed without limit to the upside or the downside. If you write a call, then you're exposed to the upside. You write a put, you're exposed to the downside. If you write both, you're exposed to both sides. So normally you make money with this option, with this strategy, because normally you take in premium, the market doesn't do very much, you keep some of the premium, and you're up on the month. But occasionally this big move comes along, and if you're not very, very careful and hedge properly, which I now have systems to do that, I didn't back in the 80s. So it's a strategy to handle with great care, but there is a logic to that strategy. The logic is that you are exposed to these big moves. The same is true of all strategies that you follow. There is a logic to any strategy, and you need to determine what it is. So for example, if you have my big call service, it looks for the bigger moves in the marketplace. So the stops are fairly wide. To stay with the big moves, you've got to have fairly wide stops. You can't expect to catch those big moves. You can use a 10-point stop to enter, but you can't continue to apply that level of stop if you want the system to stay with that position. So size doesn't need to mean an increase in risk if you keep stops tighter. But this is a very specialist form of trading, and you need to spend a lot of time looking at those opportunities. They don't come along all the time, so you probably need to be a full-time trader at that point. I know many of you like to trade alongside another source of income, a full-time job, whatever it might be. That may not be suitable, and it's probably better to look for longer-term patterns or systems, like my Kraut Gap, which has had a really good performance since 2012 when I launched it. Anyway, we'll continue with reading from my book. Although first I want to say a few words about focus. Focus just means what you look at in the marketplace. There's a great mass of information in the market. News comes out all the time. Every share has news releases, different statistics you can check out on. You can check the accounts, all sorts of stuff. And you've got to focus. You simply cannot absorb all the information. And in fact, as far as the market's concerned, one of the biggest inputs is actually what people are thinking, i.e. looking into the minds of the other traders. But that's obviously impossible to do. So you really got to focus. I mean, the same is true in life generally. I mean, we all focus on different things. And the way, how we choose our focus is critical. Of course, many people don't choose their focus at all. They just fall into it, and they start looking at things in a certain way without really analysing whether that's useful or not. And I mean that thought alone can be immensely useful. If you're finding you're not getting the results you want, it may be that you have a focus which is simply not suitable for what you want to achieve. And in fact, most of what I'm talking about applying to trading can be equally applied to life generally. And it's a matter of approaching things in the right way, approaching the market in the right way, approaching a business in the right way that makes it work. The next pillar, I call pillars, is style. Now, style is really how you go about trading your system, how you go about living your life, how you go about running your business. It's just the personal touches that make the trading uniquely your own, and in this sense, it's more a question of doing things in a way that suits you. The changes you might make to alter your style don't necessarily impact on the bottom line. They merely impact on making the whole thing easier for you to do, maybe more enjoyable, and maybe more successful. But you know, it's all about doing it in a way that suits you. It comes in a way back to my first book, The Way to Trade, discovering your successful trading personality. Style is a question of personality. Getting the trading right, well that is easy in the sense of it just means that you follow your system, you take your trades correctly, you apply correct risk management, money management, etc. Having said that, the psychology comes in, the human brain, the interaction between the trading, the thoughtful brain, the instinctive part of the brain, and the emotional part of the brain is quite a problem. I used the example of buying a car. The number of instincts, emotions, and thoughts buying a car brings in, often which conflict, is a good example of how, as a human being, we're pretty complex creatures. And I mean, in many ways, that's a great thing. I mean, I think we have a much more enjoyable time in many ways because we are so complex and so mixed up in a way, in the sense that these emotions and instincts and thoughts often conflict. But we need to deal with that, especially in the markets, because the markets are unforgiving. If you have a colourful character, that may involve conflicting emotions, etc. But the market will not be laughing. It'll just take your money away. Will not be impressed. So that's an important question. Size. Well, size is something we discussed before. It's clearly important. If you want trading to give you financial freedom, you got to trade in size. Finally, the final pillar is making all this a winning habit, and this is where it pays year after year. And habits are what it's about, really. Most of our life is habitual. We do things, we talk, we meet someone in the street, we tend to say the same kind of things. We play tennis, we're used to playing tennis, it's a habit. We trade, it's a habit. We drive a car. Many things we do in the same way day after day. Now, the important thing is to make those winning habits. You know, people who are wealthy have developed winning habits. People who aren't wealthy have developed losing habits to a sense, or they've stopped thinking about what they might be able to do, or they have limiting beliefs. And all these things need to be dealt with, and they can be dealt with. And that's why when I say wealth is a choice, happiness is a choice, health is a choice, all these things are available to you if you make that choice. And it's all about developing these habits to do so. Each step will pose challenges, and at each level it is critical to identify any issue you may have which are preventing you from completing each stage. These issues may be technical, emotional, or behavioral. Once identified, you then need to overcome these issues, and each will require a different approach. This is all about transformation, transforming you from where you are now to where you want to be. Transformation means permanent change, not temporary fixes. A big part of this is that final stage, making these new habits that together form your new trading persona, or in life generally. Much of the material in this book has come from direct client contact. For example, I refer to an interesting trade by one of my clients that can be found in Appendix 4. I'll show you that at the end of this video. To conclude this introduction, let me spell out the function of this book and who it's aimed at. If you want to make your trading into a successful business, you're in precisely the right place. I will show you the key steps you need to take. If you're just starting out as a trader, but your goal is the same, then again, you're in precisely the right place. I have written this book and its predecessor so they are accessible to those with or without experience. Maybe you're not that serious. Maybe you just want to make money or make more money in the markets. Again, you'll find the techniques discussed in these pages are exactly what you're looking for. My aim is to show you the way to trade better. Right, I will just read out the PSs. The vast majority of this book has been specifically written for inclusion herein. The exceptions are details of the trading systems I've included in the appendices, which have previously been made available to those who've either bought that particular system or who subscribe to my big call service. This is the second book in the Way to Trade series, and it's not the last, God willing. I've already put pen to paper on book 3, The Way to Trade Robotically, which is about using trading robots to run your trading business. And now a quick look at these trades. I don't know whether you can see this properly, but that is one of my clients put on a trade, £500 a point, and on page 185 you see the entry slip from IG, and on page 186 you see the exit slip from IG. Now the important thing here is that he made £5,000 in 3 minutes, and that to me is what the business of trading is all about. So on that note, I'll say adieu and speak to you again soon. Bye bye.